Hello and welcome to ICB's Virtual Student Open Day. I'm delighted you can join us. I'm Amy Copeland, ICB's Director of Communications, and we're going to be sharing with you some information about ICB's targeted but tough qualification for bookkeepers and why it might be the right fit for you or for your team that you're wanting to train up. ICB was founded 25 years ago on the 1st of November, so we're coming up to a very special anniversary. We were set up because we recognize that bookkeeping is a vital function of every business in the land. And we wanted to make sure that bookkeepers had the opportunity to gain a professional qualification that was right for the job. 25 years on, and our qualification is still designed very much with a practical focus to give you everything you need to know to support the majority of small businesses, the majority of businesses in this country, most of which are small. So our core qualifications at levels 2 and 3 start at data entry, everything through VAT, and taking you up to year-end stuff for internal purposes for a range of businesses, not just sole traders, but also limited companies, limited partnerships, and small charities and clubs. So in that respect, we're actually quite unique. And as a certified bookkeeper, you're actually slightly more qualified than you would be with some other bodies or as an AAT qualified bookkeeper. So the qualification can actually take you that little bit further. Now, when we were founded, we had an ideal that everybody should be able to gain this qualification, not just somebody on a work placement or people with degrees. And we also wanted to make sure that the exams were not a barrier to success. So now ICB's qualifications are all available online. They're all available on demand. So that means this really is a qualification that you can achieve in your own time. It's not unheard of for experienced people to qualify in a matter of months. And at the same time, we've also got people who are feeding their young baby or they've got another job and they may take a few years. So this really is something that you can take at your own speed, as quickly or as slowly as you want. However, at ICB, we recognize that it's not all hard work and study. We also reward all of our students and members with what we call IC Benefits. That is a rewards discounts platform where you can get discounts at all sorts of high street retailers. I use it myself. Examples include IKEA, John Lewis, M&S, Boots, Currys, B&Q. Pretty much you name it, you can get a discount there just because you're with ICB. So no matter what you want to do with your qualification, whether you're hoping to get a great job or you want to run your own business, this is a great qualification for you. And even if you want to carry on and do tax work, we've got qualifications for that as well. So ICB's level 4 qualification is available for you to pick and choose from. Once you're at that standard, you can choose self-assessment tax, corporation tax, financial statements for filing with Companies House, and even business insights. So you don't have to do all of it and commit to all of that study. You, again, can just tailor that to what you need for your job or for your own business. And bookkeepers have never been more in demand. Employers are looking for new skilled workers. And the latest raft of Making Tax Digital, implemented by HMRC, means that 3.8 million businesses are going to have to start filing digitally for the first time in the coming years. So there is huge demand for bookkeepers. And ICB, we pride ourselves on being the home of bookkeepers. It's all we do, and it's everything we do. We're here to support you, to connect you, to help you qualify, and also to inform you in your career and in your studies. So I'm very pleased that today on our webinar, we're going to be hearing from Elizabeth Carter. Hello there, Elizabeth Carter.
Hello, I'm unmuted.
Thank you so much. You can't see people until they unmute, but Elizabeth Carter shot to fame as the Student of the Year a couple of years ago, and she did very well getting all of her qualifications during lockdown with small children in the house. And I experienced that too. And I certainly didn't get myself qualified. So she's done exceptionally well. And she's going to be able to share with you some of her tips, what worked for her, and maybe that will inspire you to start your course as well. And to tell you a little bit more about how courses work and how you might be able to tackle the challenge of home working, we've got Steve and Gary from our favorite training provider, Training Link. They are, I say favorite because they have actually won the large training provider of the year award for 9 years in a row. Hello, Steve and Gary.
Hello, everyone.
Very nice to meet you both. And Gary, obviously, you're the founder of Training Link, and you also have been up and running for 25 years.
25 years. We were just slightly ahead of you. Ours was in May. So we're actually into our 26th year now. 25 have gone. But yeah, so you said November for the ICB. We were May, and we didn't know anything about each other at that time. That was the thing, that we didn't really connect or start working together until it was 2006, actually.
Is that right? 2006, but we haven't looked back, and you'll be in.
Oh my goodness, no.
With Training Link.
It was great because years ago we were quite like a lot of other training providers where we did lots of other courses, but we actually ended up focusing down, so that we just became specialists in bookkeeping and accounts. Well, that's all that we do now, and everyone in the building is qualified and expert on that particular subject, and that's better to be the master of that rather than be fragmented and have all sorts of different subjects going on around the place. And that's probably what's led us to be quite successful, really, in honesty. It's just that focus. Yeah. And
I think it's that focus, again, which makes the ICB qualification so worthwhile if you're considering a career in accounts and bookkeeping. So without further ado, I'm going to hand you over to our Director of Learning, Peter Stewart. He is a chartered accountant himself, and he's worked in education for the likes of ACCA, BPP, CIMA. So he knows a thing or two, and I'm very pleased to hand this over now to Peter. Thank you so much, Peter.
Good morning. Thank you. Thank you, Amy. Now, I am going to pop up a little PowerPoint slideshow, which I will talk you through. So, yeah, first off, I'll just say a little bit about myself and what my role is. Amy's correct. I am a chartered accountant. I'm also a fellow of CIMA, so management accounting. And as Amy says, I've got many years of experience in providing training, delivering training courses, setting exams, etc., etc. Rather sad to say it's more than 25 years. So I am older than ICB, and my experience goes longer than ICB as well. So yeah, let me just tell you, first of all, a little bit about what I do as Director of Learning, or what I'm responsible for as Director of Learning. ICB runs an examination system. To become an ICB member, you pass a set of exams. The exams test your ability in a syllabus. Now, ICB's syllabus needs to be kept up to date. It needs to be relevant to the work that bookkeepers will do. Because, well, the majority of our learners, our students, and people who are coming through the qualification are sort of working on their own, and they will set up a practice and continue to work on their own. So they need to know what it is that they will have to do to be able to provide the services of bookkeeping to a wide number of clients in different business fields, of different sizes and different business setups, whether it's a sole trader, self-employed, or a small company. So we listen to our members through an advisory council, and we hear what is going on in the market and make sure that what we're going to test people on is relevant to what those new members will walk out into the place of work and have to the services they'll have to provide. Make sure they learn what they need to do. So relevance is absolutely key to what we have in our qualification. There's an examination system, which I look after, and I've got a team. I don't do it all myself. There's got a strong team of subject matter experts who know how the syllabus should look in practice, as in what will people be doing in the workplace. And there's the technical management of the system as well. Amy already mentioned the fact that we make the exams available on demand. So there's a technical side to that as well. Everything is over the computer one way or another. So we look at both the technical, the clicks that are involved in delivering exams, and we make sure that the content of each exam is realistic. So we're not setting things that are good academic exercises, but they reflect the workplace. Make sure that that's a fair test. So if the syllabus says you should be able to do this, then the exam tests how you do that. So everything we're focusing on is the work that the bookkeeper will be doing. And in addition to that, again, another thing that Amy touched upon, we talked about the level 4 qualifications, which I'll give a little bit more detail on in a moment. But once you have become a bookkeeper, MICB, member of the Institute of Certified Bookkeepers, then you may want to expand the portfolio, the offerings that you have for different clients, and you will have to keep yourself up to date. There are so many developments that go on in business that people have to be kept up to date on. And I, as already said, I qualified as a chartered accountant a very long time ago, long before there was such a thing as money laundering. Of course, there was money laundering, but it wasn't it wasn't given the focus that it is now. So people who've qualified as bookkeepers 10, 15 years ago have to keep themselves up to date and know what the developments are that the various authorities are coming out with that affect them and their clients. So that's the sort of range of what I look after, with a little bit of background as to why we're doing it. This next thing is I'm going to sort of compare what we do as ICB to what other accounting bodies do. And it's already mentioned, I've worked for 2 different accounting bodies. I've worked with about half a dozen of them, probably more if you take sort of international accounting bodies into account. And the thing that I would say is unique about ICB is that there is a 1-for-1 match. When we design the syllabus, we say, what is it that all bookkeepers need to be able to do? And we don't embellish on that. We don't add in content because other accounting bodies do, or because we've tested it in the past and it was always fun writing questions on this topic, or whatever goes on. It is, what does the bookkeeper need to be able to do? And when they complete their exams, they can say, I can do this work for you. They can go to clients of various descriptions and they can say, let me look after your books, let me look after your accounting records. And I'm able to do that because A, I followed the ICB syllabus, and B, I've demonstrated to ICB that I am competent in doing that. So there's a direct match. There's no fat around the syllabus and there's no content of the exams that doesn't match with what the bookkeeper does in the workplace. So we can just talk a little bit about the assessment, excuse me, itself. When we set an exam, as I say, we've got the syllabus in there. We've had advice from senior members of the Institute who work in practice, and they say people must know this, this, and this. So there are some test of knowledge questions, such as, You've spent money on a coffee machine for the office. How should that be classified? Is it an expense? Is it a fixed asset? Is it so that can be tested quite quickly and sharply using objective test, multiple choice questions, things like that. When should the VAT return be completed and submitted? Because these are things that the bookkeeper is doing. So we test essential knowledge, and we also test practical application. So we present a mini scenario that says, here's our fictitious business. These are the transactions that it's had over the last month. What would you say the records should look like? And people are asked to do calculations, put figures into the correct cells to state, whether there's a profit or loss or how a balance sheet might look. And the important thing in this practical application is that we are testing you as in the workplace. So we don't send our candidates to an examination hall to sit at a desk that's 4 feet away from all other desks and sit them there with a pad of paper and an exam paper. We allow them to take the exam in the environment in which they would be working. So usually that would be at home. Some people find, if you're in employment, there might be a boardroom or something that you can sit in and do that. We expect that a good bookkeeper working under their own steam would want to double check that they get their facts and figures right. So during an examination, you are allowed to access Google or the HMRC website to double check that the response you're giving is right, because that's what we expect you to do for a client. We don't expect you to memorize every fact, every figure, but you should know where you can find that information quickly so that the service you're providing for the client is accurate and reliable. So where you take the exam is up to you. What resources you use during the exam is up to you. For the majority, we do have a couple of exams that we invigilate, and they will test the absolute essentials that we would expect all bookkeepers to have at their fingertips. So there's one final admitting exam, which is a closed book exam, and that's a sensible thing to have. It, as I say, it tests all the essentials. But other than that, you're in the office, you're doing the job the way you would do it in the office. Now, as a result of that, and if you start to compare ICB to other qualifying bodies, you'll see that we have a very high bar that we set. For most of our exams, the passing standard, the pass mark, is 85%. And again, that has to reflect what goes on in the workplace. Obviously, when you're doing a job for a client, you've got to get it 100% correct. You have to do that. Otherwise, you upset the client, you get a bad reputation for yourself, you get a bad reputation for ICB. 85% is much higher than most. Most bodies would be testing 50%, but bear in mind what I said previously about how we test. We test practically. We test things that you should be able to do. We allow you the tools that will get you doing that work properly. A real stickler would argue, and I very quickly swat them aside, well, why isn't it 100%? We've got to recognize that exams are an artificial scenario. There's stress. There's various reasons that we can't expect 100% from everyone, but we do see 85% being achieved and exceeded very, very regularly. I was looking at a query about an exam just this morning, and the student had gotten 97%. So a couple of maybe misreadings or something like that. when they were looking at the questions, or maybe an input entry. I don't know why they missed out on the 3 marks, but that is not at all uncommon. So you've already been introduced to our friends at Training Link, to Steve and to Gary. They and our other training providers, we work with them. They do a fantastic job in delivering the learning to their students, and therefore, well, I'll leave it to Gary and to Steve to say what their pass rates are, but they are remarkably good, and they reflect everything that I've said. It's a practical exercise that you're doing. The learning is realistic and very, very practical. You can see what you have to do because it's what you're doing day to day. So yes, we've got a high standard, but we've got a very high proportion of people who achieve or massively exceed that standard. Now, once you have become an MICB, so that's the core qualification, there's a certain number of competencies and skills that everyone has, and they're the essentials to go out and to be able to speak to sole traders, partnerships, charities, not-for-profit organizations, small limited companies, and say, give me all your receipts and all your invoices, and I'll put together your financial statements for you. I'll draft your accounts for you. There's a common level for all members. Now, some members then see an opportunity to provide additional services to those clients. So this isn't for everyone, and it just depends on how your bookkeeping business goes and the type of work that you're being asked to do. If you have a lot of clients who say, thank you for doing my accounting records, my bookkeeping, what happens about my tax? Then we can support you to get a self-assessment tax qualification, which then allows you to provide that service. It means that you can charge for more hours because you have more clients looking for that work, or because you're a more highly skilled bookkeeper, then your hourly rate can go up. Now, it's up to you how you run your bookkeeping business, but that is a great opportunity. So Amy already listed the 4 optional certificates that we have. So completing financial statements, that's for micro and small limited companies, right, through to the point of submitting the financial statements to Companies House. Doing the corporation tax for those small limited companies. Self-assessment tax could be for any individual, an employed individual, a self-employed individual, could be for people operating in partnerships. So it doesn't have to come from the business that you're preparing the books for. My one and only self-assessment tax assignment very many years ago was a friend of my parents. Just giving a little bit of advice based on the knowledge that I had. Business Insight applies to all businesses. It's not a mandatory thing that businesses look for, or nobody will check whether this has happened, but it's a service that you, as the bookkeeper, having worked within their records and all their transactions, you learn a lot about how that business operates, maybe where there are weaknesses in its operations, maybe where there are opportunities to be more efficient, whether that's making extra investments or realigning the way that you manage your cash flow or things like that. So Business Insight looks into that. It's quite a broad ranging thing that can be added benefit, added value that you give to clients. None of these is a condition of becoming a member. You're an MICB when you've completed the core qualification. So these are not compulsory. Some are more popular than the others. There's going to be a boom in self-assessment tax as legislation changes over the next couple of years. And I think bookkeepers in a very, very strong position to learn about that. Now, having said all this about what we offer as our qualifications, just to give a very broad comparison, if you're thinking, why should I do ICB rather than ACCA or CIMA or AAT, you know, whoever's on your horizon, just think about this. When you look at the other qualifications, what do you have to do to complete the qualification? And will you be using the skills that you spend time learning? And this for me is the biggest thing. I've been an exam marker for a big global accounting body, and I find it very depressing that students are being asked to do things that they will never, ever, ever come across in the workplace because of where they work, because of the business environment they operate in. They are not going to be doing some of these things, but they're compulsory things to compulsory qualifications or exams to complete that qualification. Now, they might be presented as optional, but again, look at the qualification. It says, right, there are core topics and there are options. You can choose 2 out of 4 of these, you know, external audit, management accounting, decision making, corporate. Choose 2 of those before you're allowed to become a member. And again, people are choosing those because they have to do 1 or 2 of those exams, and they try to choose them based on what is the least bad option, not because it's relevant to what they're doing. Now compare that to us, where I said in the previous slide, those 4 topics are if you want to do that once you're a member. So, you know, the standard accounting qualification will have something on management accounting, which is for people who, largely it's for people who are in employment, generally working in larger businesses that have a separate management accounting function. So again, is that where you see yourself going? And therefore maybe management accounting is a good content to have. But then if you're doing something with management accounting in the qualification, is it relevant that you're also doing external audit or doing strategic business or doing corporate tax? You know, so just weigh up everything that you're being asked to do to complete the qualification and ask whether you would be ever doing that in practice. Now, the door is always open for you to build from a bookkeeping qualification to an accounting qualification if you find that your career goes in that direction. But don't get yourself on a track where you must do umpteen exams that are there purely to test whether you can learn and complete exams in that topic, relevant or not to what you're going to be doing in work. Also, do have a look at how the other qualifications are assessed. Now, a lot of qualifications have moved on to assessment on demand. It's brilliant. It's so flexible. You know, all sort of computer-based. And I don't have a huge issue with the idea of people going to an exam center to take an exam on a given date or within a given window. That's, again, it's practical. You know, so the ICB is more flexible than that. It's where you want to take it, when you want to take it for all our exams. But do look at the pass rates. Again, you're going to find some qualifications that have got very, very low pass rates. Excuse me, somebody's trying to phone me. They've got low pass rates, and trying to work out why that is. Now, I'm not going to give all the reasons for it, but the biggest indication that I see, why is there a low pass rate? It's because people are being asked to do an exam in something that they don't do day to day. They can't really see a purpose for it, and therefore it becomes just a tough academic exercise that they've been told is a hoop they must jump through. Now, there may be other reasons for the pass rates being lower or being higher, but I come back to the point that I made earlier, is that We keep our syllabus relevant to the role of a bookkeeper. We keep our assessments, our exams familiar in terms of reflecting what it is that the syllabus says you must be able to do and how you must be able to do it. And we have fantastic support for or from our training partners, such as Training Link, who make sure that the learner is properly prepared to take those exams. So that's a little taster there of what we're about within our syllabus and exams, and maybe one or two of the factors that you should be thinking about if you're in a position of trying to choose which qualification you might want to follow. I'm more than happy to answer questions as they come through, but that, for the time being, is everything I've got to say to you. So I'll hand back to Amy. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Peter. We want to make sure that everybody at home gets as much value out of this virtual student open day as possible. So yes, please do give us any questions that you've got. You can make use of the Q&A facility at the bottom of the screen to post questions whenever you like, and then we will have an open Q&A at the end with all of our expert panelists as well. And what I was hoping to do actually is just find out now, maybe do a quick poll and find out how much accounting and bookkeeping experience you have. Would be really pleased to find out if you've done any work in this area or you've got any other qualifications. So if you can select from the poll the option that best describes your current circumstances, that would be great. And then without further ado, I'm going to hand over to the fabulous Training Link, and I believe it's going to be Stephen Nash who's going to be taking control.
Hello.
Hello there.
Right, okay, so I'm just going to share my screen and we'll just go through some slides. So here we go. So who are Training Link? Well, Training Link, as we said earlier on, were established in 1996, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So just a few months before ICB. And we are subject area specialists. This is all we do. So it's just accounting, bookkeeping and payroll. There are a lot of different providers out there that they offer hundreds of different courses, lots of different subjects. But we wanted to focus just on accounting, bookkeeping and payroll. And the reason is we wanted to make sure that we could improve and just offer the best possible experience in the subjects that we offer. So this is all we do. And the niche approach that we've got keeps us focused on creating course materials and delivering tutor support that's of the very highest quality. It's because we've got a concentrated focus on just these subject areas. We think it gives us a huge advantage, and that advantage can be summed up as control. We've got 100% control over all of our learning materials, be they course books, extra tests, mock exams, videos, anything like that. We've got 100% control because all of the material is developed in-house by our own team of specialist course writers and tutors. So our books, tests, and the additional resources, they all work together to make sure you've got a seamless, cohesive learning experience. The great thing about, the books, for example, we were talking about the books quite recently, weren't we? Because they're written in-house, and they're also print on demand as well, so we don't have the traditional textbook publishing constraints of bulk ordering thousands of books, having them sit on a shelf gathering dust for a couple of years until the syllabus changes. Because they're print on demand, it means that we can get the feedback from our students. We can look at the individual exam results. We can look at questions that the tutors receive, things like that. And if there's an area where we think there's scope for improvement, where we can nudge an exam pass rate higher, or add something in that will improve a student's understanding, we can do that because it's all our own material. And all of the material that we develop goes through the same rigorous development process. And, the tutors downstairs, they will, assess each other's writing. They will kind of throw a spanner in the works if necessary and say, well, I don't quite understand that. Can we change it? Can we tweak it? Can we improve it? And you only get that by working with a niche provider that just owns a handful of subjects, I think.
Yeah, one of the keys to this is, I mean, it's okay to say, okay, a subject expert will prove something, which is fine. But the problem is that the subject expert already knows what they're reading about. So we tend to switch things around where we'll get things tested and proofed by someone who isn't a subject expert. In other words, it becomes the same as a student then. So if they don't get something, that's flagged straight away to us. A tutor or a subject expert would get it, but someone who isn't wouldn't. And that's how we can actually get the strength into our courses, by using people that don't understand the subject to test it for us.
Yeah, absolutely. So our courses are designed to make sure that you've got the best possible chance of gaining your qualification. But it's not just about passing the exams, as important as that obviously is. We're here to make sure that you can do the job to the best possible, highest possible standards, the standards that would be understandably expected by the ICB. We want you to, set up your own bookkeeping practice. And we've got a very proud history of helping many, many of our students start up as freelance bookkeepers and start their own practice, haven't we? Yeah,
we don't actually know how many, but we know that an awful lot of people that are now practicing bookkeepers, and they actually ended up with a lifestyle that they started out with, which was to have some flexibility in that lifestyle.
Well, we've got the nice thing is, we'll talk about that a little bit later on, but we've got 27 detailed case studies on the website where you can read all about the journeys that some of our students have taken. But we're also, we've been very well rewarded for the work we carry out. We've won over 20 awards, including ICB Large Training Provider of the Year for the last 9 years, ICB Tutor of the Year 3 times, but actually we've got more. We've actually got tutors in the building. 6 in the building. Yeah. 6 Tutor of the Year award winners.
When we've recruited, we've been fortunate enough to have other award-winning tutors that wanted to work with us. So it just made that task a little bit easier, really, when we were recruiting. So we've actually got 6 award-winning tutors actually in the building, which is fantastic for us.
Absolutely. We've also won PQ Magazine's Online College of the Year in 2019. One of our students won Distance Learning Student of the Year in 2020. And this year, one of our students won Park Qualified of the Year.
Park Qualified, yeah.
Which is the top award, isn't it?
It is the top award. The PQ Magazine is called Park Qualified. So whoever wins the PQ of the Year award, that is the top award from that magazine. So that is an incredible achievement for one of our students.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So why study online? Now, we've talked about how, we have got a lot of control, 100% control over our own materials and the study experience that you'll get when you enroll with TrainLink. But you dictate the pace of progression. If you need to fast track your studies, you can. If you can only study at weekends, that's fine as well. If you can't stick to the same scheduled days, this works as well. It's completely flexible. We have some fantastic case studies of students who've worked really, really fast. They've managed to race through the studies and gain those qualifications. But we've also got case studies from people who they've had to take their time because they've had to, where they've had to, juggle work and family life and commitments. And this is the great thing about studying online. It is completely flexible. Your learning experience includes award-winning tutor support by email and telephone as well. Up-to-date, easy to follow bespoke printed workbooks for every unit. Practical hands-on activities which ensure you've got knowledge and skills, which goes back to the point we made earlier about making sure that we go beyond passing exams. We want to make sure that you can really get started. As soon as you got your practice license, you can get started and really do the job to the highest possible standard. Online enhanced learning resource. I'll talk a little bit about that because there are many different online learning systems that we could have chosen to work with. over 600, according to an article I was reading the other day. There's so many to choose from. We chose a system called Rogo, which was designed from the ground up to work with accounting and bookkeeping qualifications. It allows us to develop the kind of questions that work real world examples, types of questions that are quite difficult to put into some of the other learning platforms out there, like Moodle being an example. But we wanted to make sure that we chose the right online learning system to deliver our course material and qualifications. And of course, Rogo is actually the system that ICB use to deliver a lot of their exams, the majority of their exams. So the great thing is, because we offer Rogo throughout your study experience, unlike some of the other providers that just use it for mocks, because you're going to be that familiar with using Rogo, it means by the time you come to take your ICB exams, you'll be so familiar with it that it will just seem second nature.
Yeah, you won't feel intimidated by it. You'll be used to taking tests under a timed situation, because that's one of the reasons it's one of the things that make us nervous. Oh, how much time have I got? How many questions? You'll have had hundreds of these questions, these style questions throughout each course. So by the time you come to do an exam, you'll actually be quite relaxed about it. It's not too relaxed.
Not too relaxed. It's a little bit of nerves. Want to make sure they take it seriously.
The strange thing was, we were looking around. We spent considerable time looking, and the crazy part is that Rogo is actually right under our noses right from the start, because of ICB were already using it. Yeah, and it was only when we got to get the managing director of Rogo, I had a chat with him to realise how all this fell together. Yeah. So
and the great thing is, as well, as that our free trial is in Rogo as well.
It is,
So there is a free trial. We'll share the link a little bit later on, but there's a free trial, and there's a lot of material in there, actually.
Quite a bit.
And that's all in Rogo, so you can. We'll share the link a little bit later on and give that a go, and also compare free trials as well.
There's some lessons in there. You've got a tutor. You've got a couple of assignments to complete. So the only thing that you don't get with a free trial is an actual physically printed book. But everything else is, the content and everything else is all pretty much the same. So yeah, we encourage you to have a go at that.
Okay. Yeah. So in there, in Rogo, you'll find PDFs of the course books, assignments, tests, mock exams, and also I'm going to share a video now, but we've shot a suite of videos this year. We worked very hard on it. So I'm just going to share a video now.
New for 2021, we are pleased to unveil our collection of videos. You've asked for them and now they're here, and more of them are being added to our online learning platform. Our team of writers and tutors have spent much of this year scripting, shooting and animating a suite of videos to further enhance our study material. So if you want some extra clarification of a topic or additional examples when working through your books, just log into our online learning system and watch Training Links tutors take you through it.
Thank you very much to Lauren there. But yeah, so the videos, we spent a lot of time working on that over the last year, all professionally scripted, edited and polished. And they all went through exactly the same rigorous process that the rest of our training material goes through. But yeah, your learning experience will also include 24/7 assignment marking with instant results and personal tutor feedback. Instant results, again, one of the benefits of us using Rogo.
If it's 3 o'clock in the morning, you haven't got to wait for a tutor to mark something for you.
Absolutely. Although if you're
instant, it means you haven't got to stop. So if you've got a 3-hour window every week to do some studying and you reach assignment points after 10 minutes, you will have to stop normally and wait until next week to get the results back. With us, it's instant.
Have we had anyone who does this at 3 a.m. in the morning?
Yes. Yes, we do. Some people work odd hours.
Well, that's true.
Yeah. Or maybe they think, I'll do my course when I come in from the pub or something. I don't know. But...
So the Student Services Department is open 7 days a week. Everything you need is included. There are no add-ons needed, no add-on reference material fees, no add-on resource fees, and the exams are included as well. It also includes access to Student Street. Now, Student Street is our peer support group. Our tutors are in there, our students are in there as well. We did look about whether we should maybe develop our own kind of, our own special app for this or something like that. But in the end, we kept it very, very simple. It's actually just a Facebook group, because most people have got Facebook. And in there you can talk to other students, tutors. Over 2,000 members in there now. In fact, I think since we did the slides, I think it's about 2,100 now.
Yeah.
And everyone knows how to use Facebook. There's no need to learn how to use a new app, which is great.
Feel free to join beforehand as well, before you become a student.
Absolutely.
It's fine. You can engage and ask questions in there.
Absolutely.
To students.
Exactly.
And you'll get honest views and answers within that.
Well, speaking of students, I think we've got another very short video where we sat down with a handful of our students, I think last year, and had a chat with them about the TrainingLink study experience. Oh, it's not on this slide. It must be the next one. Seamless link gone completely awry there, but never mind. First of all, we'll talk about the exam pass rates. So in 2021, I think this is up until the end of September, we've had 1,265 exams taken and 1,094 exam passes in 2021, which is an absolutely fantastic result.
It's huge.
And that gives us a pass rate of 86%, which is just fantastic. But
and that's first time pass rate as well. The majority of people will come back, do some revision, do some work with the tutor, and then retake that exam. And then pass it on the second attempt. But that's a first time pass rate, which is actually quite huge across that amount of exams. But 1,265.
But the thing is, they don't rest on their laurels. Every month we get statistics come through.
It's analysed.
It's analysed. There's a massive email thread amongst the tutors talking about how they can nudge up individual exam pass rates and push that even
inquiry into why people lost marks or whatever it may be. The team are very, very passionate about what they do.
Absolutely. But I think I've got that video now. Yes, here we are. So here's some of our students.
It was just brilliant. The tutor support was always first class. I had access to a tutor and could get a response pretty quickly. Questions were always answered really quickly, answered really fully to check understanding.
It was so fast. Sometimes I would finish an assignment on a Sunday, email it off, not expecting anything until at least, late Monday. And sometimes even on that Sunday evening, they've got back to me already. And these guys just sit there waiting to mark assignments on the weekend.
And I think they do. I think they are just waiting there to mark assignments on a weekend, I think.
Yeah, they don't have much of a life.
But yeah, there's fantastic student feedback out there as well. We would encourage you to, again, do your research. Now, unlike a lot of not just providers, but now you tend to find that whenever you do business with anyone, any retailer, anything like that, you tend to find they ask for feedback at the point of purchase. So you get lots of 5-star reviews, but they all say things like, great product, arrived promptly, or they maybe review the quality of the advice in the lead up to purchase, something like that. Now, we don't do that. We wait and we, ask for feedback after a decent period of time. I don't know what it is. What is it? Is it at least a month, 2 months?
It's minimum of a month.
Minimum of a month.
So they've at least had some study experience before they were inviting them to say, okay, would you like to say a few things about us? Give us a review, 1 to 5. Yeah. So
our reviews tend to be a lot more detailed because you're getting feedback that's about the experience of studying with TrainingLink. So we've got, a FIFO profile, which would encourage you to have a look at. And we've also got Trustpilot as well. And as I mentioned earlier on, we've also got 27 detailed case studies from former TrainingLink students. So you can get a real idea for just how many people have changed their lives with an ICB qualification after studying with TrainingLink. So we've got some videos on there as well, and I believe shortly as well we're going to talk to Elizabeth Carter, who studied with TrainingLink as well. So we've also got a special offer to anyone who's attended today's webinar. And the ICB self-employed package, which includes the level 2 certificate in bookkeeping, the level 3, the level 3 diploma in payroll management, and the level 4 self-assessment tax returns course as well. All the exam fees, the in-house mock exams are included with this package as well, along with a free Zero course and a free Start Your Own Bookkeeping business course as well. Now, ordinarily, oh, blimey.
Chicken's cooked.
We're live.
Sausage rolls are done.
We're definitely live. So anyway, so individually these would cost $2,950, but in that package we normally put that package out at $2,110. But if you use the ICB 150 code, you'll get an extra £150 knocked off that price. So that comes in at $1,960, but you can spread the payments. We've got finance plans as well, haven't we?
So £990 saving, yeah. We can finance you up to 3 years.
Yeah.
36 months.
Yeah.
So yeah, we appreciate, we haven't all got that sort of money to spend. So, but there are smaller packages. You can start just with a single package at level 2, if you wish, which Stephen will cover now, I believe.
Well, going to mention the individual 150 ICB webinar ICB 150 code to save an extra 150 off that package, or you can save an extra £50 on the individual bookkeeping levels or the payroll course using the webinar code ICB 50. These webinar codes will expire at 5 p.m. on the 29th of October, so you've got a bit of time to have a look, maybe do the free trial, see what you think. And those are all of our slides. So back to Amy.
Wow. That's a really good deal. And thank you so much for giving that extra 50, was it 150 off?
150 off the self-employed package, yeah.
Because really, I think, and it'd be interesting to hear what Elizabeth Carter, Student of the Year, says to this, but when you've got that core qualification and then you add on self-assessment tax, that just enables you to do so much for your clients if you are choosing to set up your own business and go self-employed. And for 1,960 quid. I think that's a bit of a deal. I'm sure lots of people will be interested in that. And actually, you've answered some questions that have been coming through. So thank you very much for your questions. Keep them coming. Some of them will be answered as we go along and some we'll do at the end. But a lot of people have been wondering, how much does the course cost? It's usually more expensive than that. That's what you should find out. But also that you do finance. So did you say 3 years finance?
3 years, yeah.
Yes, up to 3 years.
Yeah.
There we go. That should be enough. Spread it out.
Qualified and trading for 2 years before you finish paying for it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, well, brilliant. I'm sure there's going to be more questions and I can think of lots I've got as well. But thank you ever so much for that. And I love those videos as well. So the lovely Elizabeth Carter, I would, and I think we all would love to hear a bit more about you and where you came from, because you're unique in that you are a career changer. And actually that also brings me to the poll. Should we have a look at the results of that poll and just find out what you guys are doing and what experience you've had? So hopefully you can see those results up on the screen. Right, so the majority of you are working in accounting and finance already. That's very interesting. So hopefully that's going to give you that good solid foundation with which to start a bookkeeping course, and obviously hopefully I'll keep you motivated through that study. But it'd be interesting to know how many of you actually are thinking of starting your own business with this qualification, or whether you're looking to just feel more confident in your work, or perhaps even get a pay rise or a promotion. I'd love to find out. So Elizabeth Carter, what can you tell us about where you came from and what were you thinking when you decided to embark on your bookkeeping journey?
Okay, well, before I was a bookkeeper, I was a maths teacher in a secondary school, but I've been working part-time since I'd had children. And for me, I was struggling with the lifestyle of being a part-time teacher. I was struggling with not having any control over what days I worked. From year to year, it would change, and not having any flexibility. So if my daughter had a concert at school, for instance, I just knew that unless it hit a day off with me being part-time, I wouldn't be able to see it. So there was zero flexibility. And I decided that I wanted something different, and I didn't know what to do. And a friend who works as an accountant, in-house accountant for a company, suggested that I look into being a self-employed bookkeeper. She said, loads of businesses want bookkeepers working, and you'll find work easily. So she recommended the AAT. So I know. So I started working, studying by the AAT. I bought myself a course for level 2 AAT, and it was an online course. I started studying and I just didn't get on with it at all. I never met my tutor. I don't even remember getting any contact from my tutor, any email or anything. And I didn't get on with the website that I was supposed to learn from. And I had another friend who had actually trained by the AAT and had switched to ICB and had become registered with the ICB and had started doing the level 4 qualifications with the ICB, having been level 3 AAT trained. And she said to me that ICB is much better for self-employed bookkeepers and that I should look into it. So I switched. I decided that I'd just declare that sunk cost of AAT goodbye, and I used Google to find training link, and I signed up and I bought myself a package of everything they had to offer, because the more you buy, the better deal you get. So I bought the level 2, level 3, level 4 qualifications that were all on offer, and that included the Start Your Own Bookkeeping Business course as well, and the Sage training too. Immediately, within a few days, I'd received a textbook to work from. Now, this to me was just so different. It was so much better. I like to work with a pen in my hand, being able to write on a textbook, and it just was much better suited for me. I don't like looking at a computer screen for working. I struggle with it. So I never looked back after that. I worked through the textbook, I did the tests that were on offer, and then did the exams. It worked brilliantly for me. I was asked to give my tips, so I'm going to give you my studying tips. So this is slightly different to what everybody else has been talking about, which is a bit more on a grand scale. So my tips are on a small scale. Is put your phone away completely. Don't get your phone out while you're studying. I think there are some essentials to buy. I think you need a decent calculator. I recommend this a Casio. As a former maths teacher, a Casio scientific calculator is I think the best one around. Brilliant. You definitely will need to have some of the functions that a scientific calculator give you over a non-scientific one. You'll need to deal with, I'm trying to think, square roots if you're going further on. So you will need a good calculator. Don't use your phone as a calculator. Anytime you go to your phone, something will distract you, or and it just doesn't work as well. The phone is not as good a calculator as a calculator. I'm a big fan of different coloured pens. I love this pen because I work in blue, I correct myself in green, and I mark in red. And I just think it just shows you what's going on, what you've done, what processes you've gone through brilliantly. I think another essential is a printer. I print off everything I work on. So every single assessment I did, every single mock I did, I printed and worked on paper for, and then put the answers, then later put the answers into the screen. As I say, I don't like working, staring at a screen while I'm working. I like to think and write while I'm working. So I printed everything and filed it. So I've got a file for each module I did, with each ICB module I did, and all my assessments are organised in there. I think it makes life a lot easier. I also recommend, Training Link mentioned that they provide PDFs of the textbooks. Having said I don't like using a screen, I do love the search function that you can have with a PDF on screen. So I recommend saving all the textbooks for that you're working on as PDFs, and if you're searching for something in an exam, it's great to search for keywords through the textbook. You also need a really good work area, somewhere away from chaos in a house. If you can't find a good working area at home, I would say go to a library or somewhere. You definitely, when you're working, you need to focus completely. There's nothing that will get you better results than really being able to study properly. I used a lot of I use spreadsheets a lot. I was a bit concerned because the M8 exam is the non-computer exam, the one that you aren't allowed Google or spreadsheets or anything like that. And I was concerned that I was over relying on spreadsheets with my M4, 5, 6, 7. However, the M8 is designed differently, and you won't miss spreadsheets for the M8 exam. So don't be concerned about overusing spreadsheets. They're really, really worthwhile. And you will use spreadsheets as a bookkeeper when you're working as a bookkeeper. So it's something that is worth relying on. I think there are two ways that you can manage your studying by setting targets. I think you want to either set time targets or amount of work targets. So if you can assign yourself a set amount of time, so 2 hours or a work day or something like that, that works brilliantly. Well, that's what I was able to do a lot of the time. I'd set myself a work day or 2 hours, and I would use that time completely to work. I wouldn't do, my phone would be away during that time, and I would just work during that time. However, sometimes that isn't always possible, and I would set myself targets of a chapter or 2 chapters to do every day, which I did through lockdown a lot. And that led me to be sometimes doing the assessments at 11 o'clock at night. I never did a 3 o'clock in the morning assessment, but I did do 11 o'clock at night assessments. And yes, it's fantastic that they will be automatically marked for you. So I could go to bed knowing I'd completed it. I also recommend you do every single mock that you can find. So I always did the mocks that Training Link had on their website, and then I would do the ICB mock that was provided with as part of my package. But then I would also pay an extra £15 and do a second ICB mock, because the more you've got, the better prepared you are. I would, before I do every ICB exam or any mock, I would actually go through and print every page. Don't worry, I've never shown these printings to anyone else. They're only for my personal use, where I would screenshot or highlight the page, print it, and I'd spend 10 minutes of each exam at the beginning printing the pages, then stapling them together, and I would work on paper with them. It worked very well for me. I think it's worth mentioning the M8 exam, which is the one where it's the closed book exam, and I'm trying to think of the right word. Invigilated, thank you, that's the right word. And you are invigilated, which is very different to all the other exams. Now, I think it's quite intimidating, being honest, but it was actually fine. The invigilation system worked really well. The electronics are fine. So you have a phone set up watching you, you have a webcam watching you, and you just show your desk and show that there's nothing scary or nothing that you're not allowed around. You show them your papers that you're working on, and it really is fine. The M8 worked really well for me, and I was a bit nervous about it. I think another thing to mention is if you have lapsed from your studying, and this comes up a lot on the Facebook groups, if you've lapsed from your studying, just get back in touch with Training Link. They are so nice about this. They will just say, don't worry, we'll extend your deadline, or they might charge you, but they might not. They're very nice about it. So don't be afraid to get back in touch to restart. I was able to work in a quite focused way over quite a short period, but I think life happens, obviously, and it's much harder to keep working when other things are happening. I've lapsed a bit with my Business Insights course, but I've no doubt that I've done it. I'm waiting for the ICB, the second mock, because I really want to do the second mock before I do the final exam. And I know that Training Link will be fine with me coming back to them with questions once I've gone back to it. They told me there would be, so that's a promise. Okay, well, I'm happy to answer any questions, but I've said all that I'd planned to say.
That was so fabulous. Thank you, Elizabeth. There is a question actually from Karen Hayer. Hello, Karen. She was wondering what you've done since you got qualified.
Okay,
that's all well and good, Elizabeth, but what next?
So I started up as a self-employed bookkeeper. I found my first client through a friend of mine who is a fellow Lincolnshire bookkeeper. She couldn't cope with the workload because it was quite a lot of cleaning up work. So I started with working with them. I then got my next client, who was a limited company wanting their year-end accounts doing. But the bookkeeper asked if anybody could help her locally because she wasn't level 4 qualified. And the vast majority of my clients have actually come from other bookkeepers for one reason or another. So I would very much recommend you join your ICB branch for networking. It's not just networking, it's support as well, but the networking is very, very good. And I actually had a client that I felt I didn't want to take on recently, and rather than letting them down, I was able to ask in my Lincolnshire branch and find someone else to take them on. So I did. It works to benefit everybody, really. So you can always find someone to do some work for someone through your branch. So I have been working, I'm working currently 4 days a week. I've got plenty of work, so the work is out there.
That is fantastic. I'm just doing a little typing in the background. I'm just putting some, Elizabeth just mentioned the Facebook groups. There's a Facebook group for every ICB branch that if you're an ICB student or member, you can join. And then there's also a dedicated student group and members group as well. We also do now have a new group for new practices. And we do a sort of onboarding webinar for new practices. And we're going to start doing that for people who are just thinking about starting their business, because I think actually that's when people have the biggest number of questions quite often. And hopefully that's answered your question, Karen Heyer, but also just wonderful and quite reassuring, I think, to hear that through the network of ICB, you can actually find clients. And like we said before, no competition and a very, very warm and welcoming community. There has been a question here. I don't know if this is one for you, Elizabeth, or maybe one for Training Link. Mike Buckley is wondering if he restarts his course, can he get a grant to help him pay for it, please? I don't personally know of any grants you can get. Does that mean anything to you guys at Training Link?
We are.
No, unfortunately not. There's some available for people who want to do level 3, but unfortunately that's only available if you go to an FE college to take it. But no, we're just not aware of anything, unfortunately. If you live in Scotland, there's a possibility of an individual training account where you can get £200. And that is about the only one that we know of. Bless them in Scotland, eh? But yeah, unfortunately, beyond that, no. We can work something out with, you know, payment schedules, things of that sort, so we can spread the costs for all the students, really. So if you want to perhaps get in touch, give us a call, see if there's something we can do on that. But certainly no funding that we are aware of. Sorry.
But the finance is probably okay, and that fantastic deal. I don't suppose you want to just reiterate what that deal was, and maybe bring it up on screen if you can be so snazzy.
I'm sure I can
I'm
do
a
If
little
that.
bit-
someone wants to return to study, it would be a different amount of money to begin with to be able to do it. Sometimes it's a minimal cost to do that. But yeah, so, you know, obviously on those sort of packages, if people are spending £1,000 or whatever, then we can do, you know, we do that over 3 years. But we can always work something out over a month or two for someone, you know, if it was £20–30 a month, something like that, just to get them going again. That's always possible.
That sounds really flexible.
Okay. Yes, the special offer. So yeah, just to reiterate the discount that is available now. The ICB self-employed package, and that is with the ICB 150 code. That comes in at 1,960. And that's until 5 p.m. on the 29th of October. So you've still got a bit of time to log onto the website, have a look at the free trial. But yeah, that's a fantastic deal, really.
It is, I have to cancel my holiday now.
It is, because actually I missed before that it includes payroll and the free zero certification.
The ones that we think are actually the key units for someone to go out there as a self-employed bookkeeper.
Yeah.
You've got your level 2 and 3. And let's face it, every self-employed person or with an income outside of employment has to complete a self-assessment tax return. So it just seems pointless if you take a client on not to do their tax return as well. And then payroll is actually, as you know, Amy, and you know, it can be a business on its own, payroll.
Yeah.
People just want their payroll doing. But if you can go to a client and say, look, I can do all of that for you, never mind, you know, level 4 management accounting, things like that, the majority of businesses would just want you to do that. So that to us was the perfect set of tools, if you like, to be able to go out there as a self-employed bookkeeper. Yeah. It is a good package.
It's a recipe for success. I'm very pleased with that. Fabulous. We do have another couple of questions. Elizabeth Carter's answered. If you want to join your local ICB branch, technically you can join by virtue of wanting to be in it, I suppose. Go to a meeting and go to the Facebook group and to submit your ICB number, which is just that 6-digit number. And the same is true for IC benefits. If you just get access as long as you're an ICB student or member. And if you've got any problems, you can always give us a call. Most of our staff are working from home. We're doing a bit of hybrid work ourselves, and we're always available on the phone, 0203 405 4000 if you want to pick up the phone and have a chat to us. Obviously, you can go straight to Training Link and book yourself a deal on a course that is going to make you a very confident professional bookkeeper. And we will continue to run events like this, and we will certainly send all of you a recording to this webinar as well. Somebody did just say, what course would you need to do after this course to become a qualified accountant? The question is, why would you want to become a qualified accountant when you're a certified bookkeeper and you can offer every service that a small business wants? So that said, I'm sure Training Link will give you the answer if you speak to them. So that's a very good first port of call. I want to just say thank you, everybody, for joining us, and particularly Elizabeth Carter, congratulations. That is no mean feat, and very well done. And just I wish you the best of luck with your continued success in your practice. And thank you ever so much, Steve and Gary, for joining us as well.
Thank you very much.
Anyone, just give us a call if there's any questions whatsoever. No obligation. Just give us a call. We can give you the information that you need.
Absolutely.
Just like ICB, you guys really know bookkeeping through and through. So if you've got any aspirations to become a bookkeeper or take a bookkeeping qualification, they are the right people to speak to. And finally, I was going to say thank you so much, Peter. He's also available on the end of the phone, aren't you? And all of us will all be at the Bookkeepers Summit, which is taking place on the 9th and 10th of November. And in our follow-up email, we will give you links to that. That's a super useful event, which covers everything from Training Link, talking about qualifications, Peter telling you more about that exciting Business Insight course and why you should do it, but also loads of great networking and mingling with other bookkeepers. So if you're thinking about this seriously, I would recommend you book a ticket to the Bookkeepers Summit and find out what it's all about. But whatever you choose to do, best of luck with it. And we're here if you need us. So have a lovely afternoon and thank you for joining us.
Bye-bye.